Joining me now is Sidney Powell. Well, she was trying to tell us this stuff years ago, and some people didn't want to listen. Others wanted to mock. Well, we got the receipts. She's got the receipts. We have the video clips, and it does involve our voting system here in America, voting machines, and then what was going on in Venezuela and other places. And she also is going to talk about what's going on in Minnesota and what needs to be done. And President Trump saying that he may have to use the Insurrection Act. We'll get all this from Sidney Powell. She's also a former special prosecutor, author in her own right. You'll find her books on Amazon and also at her website, which we'll tell you about. She joins us. By the way, she was just with us in October for our national conference right here in the Mid-South. Great to have you with us tonight. Sidney, welcome back and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you and all the viewers.
Thank you. All right.
Let's started off with a bang, didn't it?
Boy, didn't it? I mean, we're only on day 8 of the new year, and I'm already getting tired from all the news. Right? And we're being told we may have to be prepared to go back on the air this weekend because of big events that may be coming down in Iran. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, what a year it's already started out to be. Let's go to a clip. You and I are going viral this week. I don't know if you know this or not, but a few clips of us are going viral this week. Because you were saying this stuff several years ago on multiple programs, including right here. Here's one of the clips. I want to play it and then have you respond. Here we go.
Multiple patents here by different people, but one of them is for a patent from 2006 from the Defense Department. Why would the Defense Department want to patent software that allows them to flip elections?
Yes, that's a good question, isn't it?
Do you know which division inside the Department of Defense? Is it one of our intelligence divisions inside the DoD?
No, at one point, there are actually 2 patents that are key. One in 2005 for dynamic auditing of elections that allows them to monitor it real time. And that was done with the National Institute of Health, which I don't exactly understand. At least that's what it says. And of course, these patents even admittedly say they will develop uses beyond, what they say in the patents themselves. So I think there's a lot of room there for people to use them however they want to be used. But then the one that allows them to calculate an algorithm to come out with a predetermined result of an election is the one from 2006. And I think that was the Defense Department. And then it was given to a university in New Jersey that is an international think shop, apparently.
What does that mean?
A lot of foreign students are at that university. Oh, and here's another interesting tidbit. A year before the election of 2020, Dominion Voting Systems assigned all 19 of its patents for election technology to the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. And then there was an infusion of over 400 million, we believe, to State Street Capital, which owns Dominion now.
Okay, let's go back over that.
All right, let's stop right there.
The bank in Hong Kong ties back to Communist China.
So there you go. There's more of that, but that gets us started. So tell us how this all connects, if you think, related to Venezuela, because I think in another clip, I think you're talking about some of that. What do you think's going on here? And do you think Maduro, that now he's in federal custody, do you think he's going to cut a deal? Do you think he's going to start talking? What are your thoughts on that?
I think Mr. Maduro will definitely try to cut a deal. If he doesn't, he's even dumber than he looks. So it would be to his best interest to start spilling the beans on all the people his money has corrupted and how all this worked from the inside, and tag everybody that had any involvement in it. And that would enable us to clean up a lot of mess.
Do you believe that Venezuela is involved in the voter frauds that was going on?
Well, I mean, we had information from the beginning that Smartmatic Corporation originally started in Venezuela and created the first algorithms and got the first voting machines that were actually lottery machines from Oliveri in Italy and converted them into voting machines. And I recall hearing that after the 2020 election, there was a huge warehouse of voting machines in Venezuela that suddenly caught fire. And we had a witness who had given us an affidavit that the voting machines that Smartmatic had way back then were, and I'm talking back in the beginning, the first voting machines were from the Italian lottery company, and that they had been altered to manage the elections for Hugo Chavez to make sure that he would win without a doubt. And there's a video of a Smartmatic executive talking about how they changed 1 million votes. They claim it was by accident and say the other party was at fault, but the votes in Venezuela were counted on Smartmatic technology. And then Smartmatic came into the United States by buying Sequoia voting machines and company. And that lasted until Carolyn Maloney, a congressperson at the time, sent a letter to the Secretary of the Treasury jumping up and down about foreign ownership, essentially, of America's voting machines and the voting process. And then that caused different changes, and the company morphed again, and that seems to be what they always do. They create another company under a different name, and they're still using the same people and the same process.
You know, we used to produce the Lou Dobbs show here right before he passed away. And here's a clip. I don't know what year this is. I think it might be the year 2000. It's an old clip.
I think it's 2006 when he was on CNN.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
because that's about when Carolyn Maloney wrote the letter that stirred everything up.
Well, here it is. Here's a little clip.
A firm owned by Venezuela could be allowed to take over one of this country's top voting machine firms. Venezuela, of course, led by Hugo Chavez, working to change the views of most South American countries, moved to the left. Critics of the deal say our nation's very democracy is now for sale without anyone doing a thing about it. Getty Pilgrim reports.
The use of some 19,000 electronic voting machines in the city of Chicago and Cook County primary on March 21st of this year is now under intense scrutiny. The U.S. company that makes the machines, Sequoia, was bought in 2005 by Smartmatic, a private company primarily owned by Venezuelan businessmen. When Chicago had problems with the machines, a dozen Venezuelan employees were there to help with the election. Chicago officials are outraged.
I think that American elections ought to be run by American companies and ought to be run by American citizens, not Venezuelan nationals.
Smartmatic is technically based in Boca Raton, Florida, but the president of the company, Jack Blaine, testified to the Chicago City Council. Fewer than a dozen Smartmatic employees work in Florida. The majority of the workers are based in Venezuela. Watchdog groups question why U.S. voting machines would be under the control of citizens of another country, especially a country whose own election process is highly suspect.
We believe this is a national security issue. There is no way that companies belonging to non-U.S. corporations should have access to our elections.
The Treasury Department is supposed to monitor sales of U.S. companies to overseas investors where there is a question of national security, such as in the Dubai ports deal, the so-called CFIUS review process. Some in Congress are demanding an investigation.
In the case of Smartmatic, there are a number of unanswered questions. That's why I wrote to the Secretary of the Treasury and asked them to review the ownership. It's offshore, it's murky, no one seems to know who owns it. Certainly our government should know.
A potential risk to the democratic process.
And I'll just stop it right there. And then, Sidney, we have a letter that we started talking about, I think, in 2021, maybe 2022. This is a letter I found in my research, December 10th, 2020, from the office of Congressman Bill Posey of Florida. He wrote the letter to the Inspector General of the CIA and the CIA director. And he said, quote, "My understanding is the origins of Smartmatic began in Venezuela under the regime of Hugo Chavez. the election software was used for the presidential elections that President Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro won. In each of those elections, opposition parties claimed that fraud occurred. In 2018, a 2013 U.S. Department of State country report in Venezuela states in the executive summary that, quote, authorities announced that Nicolas Maduro had won the presidency April 14, 2013 by a 1.49% margin amid allegations of pre- and post-election fraud based on a number of irregularities, including government interference, the use of state resources by the ruling party, and voter manipulation, end quote. The congressman then says, furthermore, in a recent sworn affidavit filed with a Georgia election lawsuit, a key witness describes firsthand accounts of how Hugo Chavez asked Smartmatic to design a new election system for Venezuela and was, quote, was most insistent that Smartmatic designed the system in a way that the system could change the vote of each voter without being detected, end quote. He goes on to conclude that he would like to see an investigation done to find out the CIA's role involving these election companies. We know, and we have shown also the document there, an article from the Washington Times, May 1984, Jesse Helms, talking about the CIA fooling around with elections in El Salvador, providing 400 precinct organizers, a model press operation, technical advice, and funds for the, quote, computer voter registration system that disenfranchised 20% of the voters for the first time around, end quote. Jesse Helms warning the CIA is fooling around with elections. El Salvador. It seems like that, we talked about this in the summer of 2020, a color revolution. We were warning about that in the summer of 2020 due to some documents we were seeing. Do you think the CIA was involved? The DOD? We talked about that in our interview years ago. Do you think they practiced this overseas and then brought it home?
I don't think it could have happened without CIA and Department of Defense knowledge. I don't know, whether it was rogue people. I'm sure they'll try to claim that, or whether it was part of their operation, particularly after Mr. Brennan was involved. I would think it might have been part of their operation. But yes, they had to have known. We could tell almost instantly on the night of the election in 2020 that something was very, very wrong. And mathematicians who are experts with PhDs from Stanford and all other places, MIT, were telling me that they could essentially see that an algorithm was running. You can't have an injection of hundreds of thousands of votes for one person at one time. And even the machines couldn't operate at the speeds they were claiming. The counting machines couldn't operate at the speeds they were claiming that number of votes could be counted. It was preposterous. There was scads of evidence of what was going on. And we had the firsthand witness that was quoted by that congressman that was saying that he was right there seeing how it all worked and hearing what was being told to Hugo Chavez and what he was demanding. Secret change of voting that no one could ever detect.
Well, won't it be interesting to see if if Maduro starts singing, if he starts cutting deals, giving information? I don't know what kind of deals the government or President Trump would cut with him. I don't know. We're talking about, hey, you give us enough information, maybe you do a little time, and you and your wife can go off somewhere and live your life and have some pardons or whatever. Surely he has enough.
Never be pardoned. He
Say that
should
again?
never be pardoned.
He'll never be pardoned?
He should never be pardoned, and he should certainly have to serve prison time.
Do you think he could cut
it can make a big difference.
Say that last sentence.
Where he serves it could make a huge difference.
Okay. So he could cut some kind of deal where his life is a little more comfortable or some time is shaved off. Do you think he has enough information to do that kind of deal personally? Do you think
I have no doubt he has enough information. Whether he's willing to give it up, whether he can live long enough to give it up is a whole nother issue. Because he was running the Trinidad gangs that were infiltrating the United States and probably other countries. He's wreaked all kinds of havoc through his human trafficking operations and drug operations and the voting operations. It's mind blowing.
What do you make of his body language? The thumbs up in the pictures, Good evening. Have a good evening. Happy New Year. We got all these videos and pictures we've shown. What do you make of that? Some of the guys that are with the DEA, one guy pats him on the shoulder when he gets up out of the van, like, good job. I mean, it just seems the body language of the DEA agents and him seem rather comfortable. Is there any thought in your mind that he cut a deal to be captured because he was maybe more afraid of some of the people in his own government or these cartels or his own vice president? Or do you think he truly was just snatched and had nothing to say or do about it?
Well, as I understand it, he was trying to get in his safe room and close the door when he was snatched.
Okay.
So I don't think it was a deal he made or was expecting to happen. So I don't know. It could be Tom Sawyer whistling past the graveyard full of bravado, or it could be he is in the process of cutting a deal.
So what do you think of the stories floating around that Elon Musk helped to disrupt some of this, which is why President Trump was able to win in 2024? Any truth to that?
I don't know. I've heard it from more than one source, but I don't know whether it's the same story repeating itself or different sources.
Are you concerned about
possible.
Are you concerned about the midterms coming up this year and voter fraud and where that's all going to go?
I'm concerned about anything that uses voting machines in any part of the process. We have to have paper ballots hand counted, and they should be individual in some way. Not that we need to know the name of the person who votes, but that we can't have repeat votes. I mean, think of it like a dollar bill that has a serial number, and there's only $1 with that serial number. Something like that has got to happen to make our voting secure. And they have to be hand counted.
Didn't President Trump this week, I think, spoke to the Republicans, and I think he kind of warned them that if we don't do something about the voting machines, we're going to have a problem. Did he not?
I believe he did. Everybody knows it. The people that won't deal with it are the ones that are benefiting from it and lining their pockets with money from God knows where. I'm still astounded at the worth of certain Congress people who have only been in office a few years, not to mention those who have been in office for a long time, like Nancy Pelosi.
Logan, I don't know if you can see when this was put out. Peter Berniger just put out today, President Trump to sign an executive order before the midterm election, eliminating mail-in ballots, voting machines, clarifying President Trump is going to do it, the executive order to ban voting machines and absentee mail-in ballots, with rare exceptions. This is just a start. Hold on, Toto, as the full tornado is coming. I'm going to lead. Here's from President Trump. I don't know if this is today, Logan, if you can help me out here in the control room, or this is something in the past. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. We're now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by Democrats because they cheat at levels never before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do with their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone, and so much more. Democrats virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots, voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, know this. I feel like I've read this before. That's what it's from August 18th.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I feel like I'd read that before. August 18th, Logan's telling me. But it sounds like President Trump may be preparing an executive order to this effect.
That would be the first step. It would be even better if Congress would pass legislation to that effect. You know, they say they can't do anything about it, but that's false. They ushered in the computerized voting systems through the Help America Vote Act passed by Congress. They can usher those same systems out by a similar act.
It's almost like some of the Republicans don't care, which makes you wonder again about the uniparty. Why would they?
Oh yeah, it's I have no doubt it's a uni party. I figured out that when I wrote License to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice, and saw President Bush name certain people as prosecutors, and then Obama promotes them all.
Let's go to, so we'll see what happens. Wow. But you must have your email box filling up with your own videos from a few years ago. I mean, right? People emailing you. I mean, you've been vindicated, have you not? Not that you needed to be vindicated, but you have been.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of emails and texts of people saying you've been vindicated. And I just want the truth. Whatever the truth is, that's what I want. That's what I've always wanted, because we can't solve the problem until we know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Let's have you speak to this in closing here. President Trump aboard Air Force One the other day. Here we go.
I'm allowed to use the Insurrection Act.
Let me back that up and boost the volume. I'm allowed to use the Insurrection Act, he says. Here we go.
I'm allowed to use the Insurrection Act. In fact, that was on Stephanopoulos today, his Sloppodopoulos show. They asked Sloppy Chris Christie about the Insurrection Act. He said, well, you're talking about the Insurrection Act. He's got the absolute right to use that. And he said a couple of things. He said 50% of the presidents that served in office have used the Insurrection Act. And the Insurrection Act, according to all of them, said it can't even be challenged. I don't have to go there yet because I'm winning on appeal. You know, you're right. We're losing with radical left judges, generally, radical left judges, and we're winning on appeal. I'm allowed.
Okay, now I don't know when that was done, when this video clip was.
I think it was just a couple of days ago.
I think it was too, from what I'm reading. But he could use this to deal with Minnesota, for instance. Can he not?
He could. It's much broader than people realize, and he certainly could use it and probably should use it even right now.
I mean, I have a clip here. I played it on radio at 1 o'clock Central. I mean, listen to this. This is coming out of Congress. Listen to this, please. Here we go.
Chair recognizes Ms. Luna.
Thank you, Chairman Comer.
Okay, it's going to spin, but it'll get back on track.
Honorable Robbins, based on your record before your committee, when did Governor Walz first become aware of widespread fraud in Minnesota social service programs?
I would assume that he has been aware of it since he ran for office for governor in 2018.
By 2017, DHS investigators warned CCAP fraud could exceed 50%. What was that information elevated to the governor's office?
Yes, there was an OLA report.
Thank you, ma'am. By 2020, state officials knew Feeding Our Future invoices were fraudulent. We know that payments continued to the AG's knowledge. Did they continue to the governor's knowledge as well?
Yes.
Attorney General Ellison agreed on tape to fight Minnesota's own Department of Human and Health Services in exchange for Somali political and financial support. In your personal opinion, do you believe it is a possibility that Governor Walz also made that personal deal, or that he at least knew about the Attorney General's agreement?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to rehash what you...
Okay, so I guess she's making a criminal referral against Ellison, the Attorney General, and Governor Walz. We're hearing this is going on in California, Ohio. If this isn't fixed now in this Trump term, I don't think it'll ever get fixed. And of course, my concern is if the Democrats take over the House and the Senate, he gets impeached, this gets buried, and we just become a third world, banana republic. And this raping financially of the American people and the enriching of the elite power, elite class continues. Thoughts on this?
Yes, I think there need to be a lot of indictments between now and even June or July. A whole lot of indictments, and Ellison and Walz should probably be among them. I can't imagine with the evidence I'm hearing that they have now that they should be indicted within weeks.
Are you shocked at the level? I mean, name your book. You got a book. What's the book called? The book called again?
Yeah, License to Lie: Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice. No, I'm not shocked by any of this. If you pay attention at all, you can see that it's been happening for decades. The Democrats have just been as corrupt as they could be, and plenty of Republicans joined with them.
We could almost eliminate the entire federal income tax just if we eliminated the fraud and the waste. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
Basically, we pay taxes. We pay taxes so they can take our money and then launder it through one scam after another. But, you talk about affordable, not being able to afford a house, a car, send your kid to college, all this could be fixed if the American people would just stop paying federal income taxes by getting rid of the waste and the fraud, shrinking the size of government. President Trump's talking about $600 billion in tariffs. Okay. And people say, well, that is just going to be tacked onto the price of the product and be more expensive. I would rather pay more for a product and know that I'm buying a product I'm paying more for because I'm paying a tariff versus a federal income tax, and the money's all being laundered for crime and corruption and debasing my currency. I mean, I would rather do that than continue this process because this surely isn't working.
The fraud has to be stopped. It's been absolutely blatant, and it should be very easy to prove those cases. And the Minnesota U.S. Attorney's Office or offices, I can't remember whether there's one or more, should be jumping through themselves to get people indicted and charged and arrested and jailed and tried and convicted and sent to prison.
And then finally, ICE. We saw the shooting in Minnesota yesterday. It looked like it was a justifiable shot. Unfortunately, the lady died. But this is what's going on with elected officials, encouraging behavior out there in the streets and seeming to stir up the chaos.
That's why I think the Insurrection Act should be invoked immediately if it takes that to do it, and shut all that down. And the U.S. attorneys also need to start charging and prosecuting people for obstruction of justice. That lady was in the process of obstructing justice amid trying to assault the officer with her car, and other people were too. And the obstructionists should be arrested just like the illegal aliens are being.
Well said. Give your website. It should be on the screen there, but give your website again, please.
SidneyPowell.com and DefendingTheRepublic.org.
What will they find there?
Defending the Republic has a ton of information about everything from the COVID vax, which we were very vocal in encouraging people not to take, and are in the process of trying to get back pay for military members now and have them reinstated and all of that. We've been working behind the scenes to do that for quite a while. And a lot of information on everything that's going on now.
SidneyPowell.com and DefendingTheRepublic.org.
Yes.
.org. Excellent.
Yes.
Great to see
there
you.
There are also a lot of my old videos there too.
Wow. Yeah, go find them because it's amazing what she was telling us, folks. And now we're finding out more. And hopefully we will find out more from Maduro if he's smart enough to start singing, which he should. Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us. And we had a great response to your keynote address at our fall Worldview weekend. So thank you for being here for part of that.
It was my pleasure. It was a great event. Super people, very informative.
Yeah, well, you helped make it
invited back.
Yeah, of course you will. And you helped make it informative. So thank you for that. Thank your husband also for allowing us to have you for that weekend. And look forward to talking to you more in 2026.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sidney Powell checking in. SidneyPowell.com and DefendTheRepublic.org. Great interview as always. We'll be right back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline, as it happens,